moving on to ultimate. All right, I guess we could do soccer corner first.
Hmm.
Um, Lionel Messi finally shows up to work. Inter Miami dying for some talent. I think they're definitely in the bottom half of their conference right now. Um, if we want to see the standings, trying to pull them up right now.
I think they were one of the worst
Uh,
teams
they
before they
are the
got
worst.
Messi. They're the
Yeah,
worst.
they're in the
Gee,
bottom of their conference. Let's see here. If he takes them to the final, is that the greatest accomplishment he's ever had? 10 losses. Yeah, they've had the most losses this season at 14. Next closest team is at 10. One less point than any other team because of the soccer tables. It's all tables. But anyway, so they still beat. I think it was a domestic cup, and they beat a team 2-1. Cruz Azul. Messi
hmm
comes off the bench and scores the game winner in the closing moments. Literally storybook. And yeah, Rem, I noticed you watched some highlights, you watched some stuff. What did you think of Messi's debut?
Well, we could get into a lot of, again, I don't know anything about soccer, but having watched the World Cup and just kind of having, that's the only soccer that I've seen. So having the highest level of soccer being the only soccer that I've seen, like just to immediately go in and watch this MLS match, like it just seemed like it's way, way down in competition,
Yeah,
obviously. But
that's what you
I
got.
guess, like, ultimately, big picture, what does this do for soccer? Because this is supposed to get a guy like me. And I think a guy like me is like not that hard to get either. I'm a big sports guy. I'm gonna gravitate toward the biggest sports things that are happening. Yeah, obviously it's
hmm
football, basketball, but whatever it is in the moment, gonna gravitate toward it. The Messi thing was the biggest thing happening in the moment, but the fact that you have to go through this MLS pass and there was sort of this whole thing, like I ultimately didn't sign up for it. Didn't watch the Messi thing. Decided to watch the highlights and just, kind of consume the reaction to it. I just wanted to be a part of the reaction to it, really, and seeing the highlights of the event. But I didn't need to necessarily watch the game and sort of see the product on the field, which is the ultimate end goal of having him there anyway. So there are going to be the soccer fans that are going to have to watch Messi, and they're like, well, I guess I just have to buy MLS Pass now because I have to see Messi. This is the team he's on. But do you think it's going to attract more casual people to soccer than it normally would? Like, I think more eyeballs are going to be on the sport in general because Messi is there, and more people are there's going to be more buzz about it. But do you think the dollar amount is going to be significant? Like, are we going to see a boom here for, I mean, maybe the whole MLS is a stretch, but Inter Miami, like, how big is this going to get? Not just from a talking standpoint, but actually getting people to buy the MLS pass and watch the soccer games and consume soccer as like a real sport and not just like, these Twitter conversations.
I mean, Rem, turn on the Instagram Reels camera.
Oh, I keep.
I think that Messi should have gone to the Saudi Arabia League, and I think it'll be more and more clear in the next coming days. He definitely should have gone to that league. Um, one of the interesting takes, rarely are athletes right about their own league, or they when athletes have takes about themselves. It's sometimes it's very rare that it's actually right. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm the greatest, but when they're looking back on history. Ronaldo had a really good take mentioning how Saudi Arabia is a better league than MLS. It's becoming a better league than MLS, and there's just better players there in general. And I think with just the ridiculous pull that they have for pulling the players down there, Messi would have made just so much more money going there. And, we would have seen the battles again between Messi and Ronaldo. And I think with MLS, it's just the quality of play is so low that it's so hard to get eyes on that league when Premier League teams, not the Premier League teams are already doing preseason games. The top level teams are already back on the pitch here in the States playing. And when you have just that much, we already, like we mentioned, Women's World Cup, there's just so much going on of high quality soccer that there's not really a time slot or time place for MLS to fit in there. Kind of like similar with the Spring League versus NFL. They find their time, or, the NFL, or there are other football, other kind of football leagues that pop up out of nowhere. They have their time slot. They have the summer, they got the spring, they got some interesting time slots. So it doesn't apply to soccer. It's year round almost, pretty much. They barely have any time for those Premier League teams and the top teams to have that break. And now with them coming overseas here to America, it's becoming harder and harder to defend the MLS as a viable league to actually go and watch. And having Messi and Busquets, helps in terms of credibility for the league. It helps for the commercials. You have the poster. Busquets and Messi, they had great passing. But both of them, you could tell, it's just a summer vacation for them. It's a retirement home. They're definitely treating it like that, barely showing up, playing half the game. And for Messi, it's just, it was the location, obviously, was pretty much the only reason why he went there. And it's just going to be a fun time for him, which is a win. But I don't think it's going to help the MLS that much, just because of the insane pull that the Saudi Arabia League has had. Most of the fans here do support teams overseas. I still have yet to find a serious MLS fan. Well, I actually found one or two. One who's very fan, but almost the vast majority support European teams. And with their schedule just growing out longer and longer, them coming overseas here to America, it's just like you said. When you watch the World Cup now, the World Cup, yeah, it is actually similar quality of play to club soccer. Club soccer, it is. The club soccer might be actually a little bit better at some places, but yeah, the highest end of World Cup, I think, is pretty close to club soccer. And when you can do that year round versus the MLS, which you mentioned, is just, you as someone who doesn't, you're not an experienced guy with the game, you're not knowing the formations and stuff. Even you can tell that it's not that great. So for fans who do watch week in and week out, it's just there's no reason to watch the MLS. So, shout out to them for an idea. It's an interesting idea, but for actually pushing the sport forward in America, it's definitely, this is not the answer to making the league here better. It is, it is something that'll be fun for the first couple games, but it won't really, I don't think it will. There will be some growth, but I don't think it'll be sustainable.
And it's not like MLS is like the second best league in the
Yeah, in
soccer
the world,
universe. It's
yeah.
not like he
Not even close.
jumped from the NBA to the Euro League. Like, I don't know what the NBA equivalent of Messi is right now, but what if like Durant just went to a European team?
It'd probably be like LeBron going to Israel.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
you would definitely still consume the LeBron stuff, but how
yeah,
committed would you really be,
exactly.
especially just, every game to subscribe to the thing and watch the competition? And,
Yeah,
LeBron would probably dominate a league maybe better than Messi can at this point. Who knows? Because,
no, for sure. Well,
the
I don't know. He
we'll
looked
see what
pretty
he does. We'll
good.
see what he, yeah,
There,
we'll
there
see
were
what he
some
does
there were some
here.
interesting moments.
He came on, and again, I don't know anything about soccer, but the passing looked pretty
Yeah,
crisp. It seemed like
yeah,
he was just seeing lanes that were just
yeah,
like, you were like, oh, Messi, okay, I can see he's
yeah,
clearly on a different level here. Like,
yeah.
it seemed like it stood out as pretty obvious. But we've kind of already seen this in basketball as well, too, like on a lower level. Like on a way lower level, we had LaMelo Ball playing in Lithuania.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had Wemby this year playing in France, and he wasn't an American in France, but a figure who was going to be a figure in America. It was a
Yeah.
little early for Wemby, but
Mm-hmm.
you can still see people like consume. It's people just consume that, and you can get the highlights and you can kind of break it out. And it's not like Wembenyama was a big boost for that French league. It's not like the numbers were. The games were selling out. It was good
Yeah.
in that aspect, but just on like a bigger
Yeah.
macro scale, I don't know what kind of impact this is going to have for the MLS. Like the stars are going to be there. You get LeBron there, Serena Williams, like there is, big names sold out, Inter Miami, Beckham's crying on the sideline. Like he's going to be rolling in money because of this. But like you're saying, driving the sport forward in America, I don't know what kind of impact Messi is necessarily gonna have for that. Because I know like when I was just like, oh, wait a second, I'm not signing up for this thing to watch Messi.
Exactly.
And that's the point. Like I'm maybe I will next season. Who knows? But I mean, as of right now, I mean, I'm good just following this stuff on Instagram. Like that's kind of where I'm at.
And it's clearly the worst team. I mean, they'll be a little better, obviously, having Messi, but I mean, there's zero chance. And them being the worst team, that means in the MLS, that means there's major organizational issues already. So it's they're probably not that invested in the team. Um, it's him and Biscuits chilling in Miami, making some money. I don't know. If the goal was just to have a vacation area where you can, play soccer whenever you feel like it, almost like a
Mm-hmm.
pickup league situation, except it's the professional league. I get that. But in terms of actually making money and having something that is somewhat interesting historically, getting those chances to play Ronaldo a couple more times, playing in Saudi Arabia against teams that are quickly improving with money that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Every time you pump your car, that's something there. So it's definitely not money that's going anywhere anytime soon. And yeah, I mean, we've already talked about the Saudis starting to make their presence known in the world of sports. It's something that they're planning to be there and not leave. And the national team for America has been primarily the big reason for growth. Also, just
Yeah.
the growth of the youth system as well. I think more kids play soccer than any other sport in the world, or not in the world, but in America, and well, probably the world too. But
Yeah, for sure.
and it's with the national team, women's national team, men's national team being actually competitive, those are going to be the big reasons, and not the MLS. And there's a reason why every American player, once they're in the MLS, they try to get out of there as quickly as possible because it's just not the league. It's not it. But
And I was doing a little digging, and I don't even know. It's not like an NBA thing where if you're in the NBA, you're in the NBA. Like
yeah,
he may be able to still go play over in Europe in the Premier League at some point. There is
no,
con some contract stuff, some stuff with the way the seasons
he
line up.
could be
Again,
transferred out of there.
I
Yeah,
don't know
you could do a
anything.
trade with them. Yeah, that is one of the things you can do a trade from another country to another country because it's all under FIFA.
Yeah.
So I mean, they do this with young players, especially from Brazil, all the time, where you can transfer from Brazil straight to the team. And so he could do a trade to another team. I mean, he could still go to Saudi Arabia. Still on the table.
This feels like a zag. I feel like everybody was celebrating it. I mean, it was awesome. He came into the game, looked
Yeah,
amazing, hit the game-winning goal. Like it was scripted perfectly, but I just the long-term impact we're gonna
exactly.
have to see. The Messi thing is gonna be good. And if Messi was coming to my city, I'm definitely gonna go see that. But the big thing was the MLS pass. So just that'll be, I think, the curious thing to track. And he's clearly getting a lot of money. Like he turned down $1 billion from the Saudi to come get this bag. I mean, Miami is worth a lot of money. I don't know if South Beach is worth $1 billion. I don't know if you
Exactly.
trade in $1 billion for South Beach. So he's clearly getting a lot from this, or
It's got to
supposed
be
to
a
be.
family thing or something.
Yeah.
Probably didn't want to live. I don't know. In the Middle East, who knows? I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's a nice moment. ESPN FC loves to promote him a lot, and it was a good moment for them. But in the long term, I mean, I'm not going to be watching MLS games anytime soon. I
And now you
mean,
got to play
it's
with Messi on in FIFA on this Miami team.
no.
That's
I
gonna be
mean,
no
there's gonna
fun.
yeah. I'm gonna be like February after playing with every single team, being like, you know what, his rating still got to be high.